There are 7 levels of Fortnite Seasons. Let me explain. We're starting at level 1, trash. It takes a lot for a Fortnite season to be that bad that I would consider it a level 1 season. But in my opinion, the Primal season, Chapter 2, Season 6, to this day, may be the worst season Epic has ever had. A big feature of this season was weapon crafting, and that was removed very quickly after this season ended. While it was a cool and unique idea, it did not work well in a battle royale setting. And with the base weapons being makeshift weak versions of the normal guns we were used to, off-spawn fights in early game was a disaster. Some of the worst guns we have ever seen Epic created during this season. It also had bows, but honestly, the only really useful bow was the grappler bow or the shockwave bow. It had one of the most broken shotguns, and not in a good way. So broken that it got replaced with one of the most forgotten items ever, the recycler. Yes, the primal shotgun and the mythic version that ended up getting vaulted was so OP. Even after it got nerfed, it was still a nightmare to go against. There was just so much wrong with this season, and do not get me started on the POIs. The map changes that happened this season made the map look ugly, and all of the POIs just did not work with the building grid that Fortnite had, and back then there was no zero build, so the new POIs were terrible to fight at. But I do have to say that this is probably the only season I actually have at a level 1, and I'll explain why. Because at level 2, we have bad seasons. Now, these aren't the most hated seasons in Fortnite, and some of them were loved by smaller parts of the communities, but they had big controversies. Usually what happens with these seasons is Epic tries something very different and unique, and it just doesn't go well. And naturally, the Star Wars season has to go here. It was bad, but fortunately, it only lasted 30 days. And even though it didn't hit the way some people were hoping, I can respect that Epic tried something new and different. And if you were a Star Wars fan, I'm sure you liked it more than somebody who doesn't really care about Star Wars. I'd go as far as saying the same with Wrecked being a level 2 season. Yes, it was unbalanced, the cars were absolutely crazy, Nitro was super broken, but a part of it had some charm because it was different and Epic was trying something unique. It was fun for a bit, but then we started seeing some record low player counts and everything had to be nerfed. And now we move on to level 3, a mid-season. There are a lot of mid Fortnite seasons, average, underwhelming, or even forgettable. A mid-season isn't a terrible season, but it's not very memorable either. Chapter 3, Season 2, Resistance had some good moments, like the introduction of sprinting and mantling and even zero build, but there were not very many new weapons or POIs at all. And many players thought that the war-themed storyline was a bit strange, and it did seem like it got changed last minute. Chapter 5, Season 2, Myths and Mortals also falls into this category. I know it was a really cool theme, but it didn't live up to the hype that people thought a mythical, Greek god season was going to have in Fortnite. The Greek mythology just did not feel like it was implemented properly. While the POIs were really cool and aesthetically pleasing, and the battle pass was amazing, I feel like they missed the mark. People expected more Greek mythology mythics and powers, and really all we got was just a bunch of Greek mythology weapons. And then of course there were complaints about the Thunderbolt of Zeus being overpowered, so then that got nerfed, and then the wings were really bad from the beginning, so they just weren't that good to begin with. Even though they looked great in the trailer, no one ever really used them that much in the actual gameplay. And now we go to level 4. These are okay seasons. They usually have some good pieces of content and some interesting concepts, but something just doesn't quite click. It could be due to poor balance, community feedback, or too many bugs. A good example here is Chapter 2, Season 5. This is when they added gold into the game, a brand new system to purchase weapons, hire NPCs, and it felt pretty good to play. You could also start bounty challenges on other players from the NPCs, which were fun. The problem was that a lot of the mechanics in this season were broken, like the sand tunneling, and it was vaulted for most of the season, making this just an okay season. Epic also brought back some versions of OG POIs, like the return of tilted towers, but with a mix of Salty Springs. We also saw a part of Greasy and Flush Factory and even Dusty. And a lot of the map changes were in the middle of the map, which honestly, I wish we saw more of this season. But there weren't many map changes that happened throughout the entire season, which is why the season was a little bit stale, and the loot pool was pretty solid, but most of the updates that happened throughout the season were about the new collab skins that were coming in the game, like Street Fighter and Master Chief. Now, if you were a fan of the collabs and you were excited to see Mandalorian, Walking Dead, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and all these different skins and collaborations coming to Fortnite, then this was a very good season for you. But if you were focused mainly on gameplay, the season was just okay. And with the main new mechanic and a lot of the map changes based around sand tunneling being vaulted for most of the season, you can't really rank this season higher than a level 4 season. Then look at the current season. Shock and awesome. Some people might consider this a bad season, but it's honestly a decent season. I know the player counts are really low, but objectively speaking, it's not a bad season. Epic tried something new with the bugs, and while it didn't work out, they did act on the feedback and they vaulted the bugs. If they kept the bugs in, this could have ended up being a bad season, but with these huge changes and the big update that we just got with 4 Nightmares, I think it's not fair to put this in bad, and it's better that we just keep it at okay. We'll have to see with time where the season ends up going, because sometimes it takes a little bit to truly judge a Fortnite season. Next up, we have the level 5 Fortnite season. These are good seasons. Level 5 seasons get a lot right. They aren't flawless, but when you look back, you remember them fondly. The gameplay felt solid, updates were consistent, and even if there were some bugs or balance issues, the overall vibe was strong. Like, let's take a look at Chapter 6, Season 3, Super. We got a new system with hero ranks, and I think Epic has only improved the system with the OXR ranks. The items were fun. Yes, some were a little broken, like the pom-poms when they came out, but they were also very unique, which I can really respect. You had Superman aura farming during the event, and it wasn't a perfect season. There were some balance concerns, but it was a good season. They tried a lot of new things, and they mostly succeeded with these new concepts. Now, the season might not be the most loved by the community, but these are still the kinds of seasons that people will talk about years later. And now we move on to a level 6 season. This is a great season. Seasons at this level remind you of why Fortnite is special. Great pacing, a clear theme. Almost every single update added something exciting. They weren't just good seasons, they were great. Chapter 3, Season 1. It was the start of a new chapter, and it felt fresh after Chapter 2 lasting nearly 2 years. The Spider-Man gloves were also perfectly executed and really gave this season a unique feel and charm. It is arguably one of the best items that Fortnite added to the game, and we also got the introduction of victory crowns, which at the time were very cool. I don't really care about them anymore. They also added sliding and the MK7, which was an insane gun at the time because it was the first gun that had a red dot sight. This season was much needed and felt great after a lengthy Chapter 2, and seasons like this give you a special type of energy and motivation to play Fortnite any chance you get. When you logged in, you were ready to have fun. Every game felt fresh, it felt exciting, and it was fun to win. And now for the final level, level 7, Legendary. These are the peak Fortnite seasons, the ones that helped define the game. Everything just hit perfectly. The map, the loot pool, the events, the updates. You mention one of these seasons to almost any Fortnite player and they will remember it. Yes, I might glaze them a little bit, but these seasons deserve it. Chapter 2, Season 4, The Nexus War. You can't say enough good things about this season. The first full Marvel season, everything was absolute perfection. The mythics, the unvaulted pump shotgun, the Stark rifles, arena, absolute peak gaming. The craziest mid-season update we have ever seen with Stark Industries. It had a fantastic For Nightmares event where you could respawn as a ghost, a very memorable battle pass, 16 million players logged in for the live event, the most amount ever up until that moment. This was a legendary season. And then you have Fortnite OG, the first time it came back, which literally broke records. Getting the old OG squad back in was so special. It wasn't 100% accurate to OG, but with modern mechanics like sprinting and mantling, it felt fresh and exciting to go back to that map. and it only lasting 30 days meant it was packed with content from the very beginning until the very end, and you wanted to cherish every single day it was available. New season update every single week made it feel fresh and new, and these are seasons that people still talk about to this day. The squad was always on and ready to play. People were playing long hours, grinding wins, nothing but fun and laughs and awesome content and special moments. It's going to be very hard to replicate this feeling again, but I'm glad I got to experience it. That is a level 7 Fortnite season. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments with my rankings, and let me know what I should rank next, level 1 through 7. I'll see you in the next one.